Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And I've thought to myself, okay, why not go ahead and do a bit of a drive today to go somewhere different? And I was like, well, I don't really feel like driving today. And just as well, because we've had a lot of roadworks just around the area, as you can tell by the fact that this, this normally not as expansive road is actually not as expansive. I mean, not as occupied road is being used consistently. Bus incoming does notwithstanding. Anyway, because yeah, everyone's having to take detours basically. Which yeah, that's fun. So with that in mind, yeah, we'll just try to find what I thought was a public, not a public, a quiet spot. And yeah, here we are. I think I should start that intro again. I feel like the Spanish Inquisition being like, oh, among our weapons are such things as fear, ruthlessness, and I'll come back in again. Feels like that. I stumbled too many times, but oh well, not that it particularly matters. Besides, the plan that I had for Walking Wednesday this week is actually a little bit different, because I was going to once again, I guess, loop back to the idea of parodies and, you know, how and how the gacha community has been portraying that. I was going to use again the example of Wiz Gaming like last time, but actually, because of availability and scheduling, Aiden was only able to do the review of the next Mermaid Tales episode yesterday, so we did that instead. Not that I'm complaining about, particular, about an AFMAL series taking priority. I mean, I know I'm not. I know I'm downplaying it, but the idea of a consistent AFMAL roleplay in some capacity after such a long time is, of course, just amazing. Because that was the whole point of 5 years later. Originally, was to keep that portion of the AFMAL fan base alive, and also to reintegrate myself into it. So yeah, the fact that we're back to covering relatively recent things, it's fantastic. Of course, the only difference now to how it used to be was that I'm not just casually watching them in real time as I did before. I mean, not in real time. Not in real time. I meant I'm gonna go down here. I think it's gonna be slightly quieter. Oh, hold on. You avoid the cars, and then the pedestrians get you. No, what was I going to say? No, I completely forgot. No, it's gone now. It's gone completely. Something about AFMAL roleplays and such. Oh yes, it wasn't real time. I meant to say that I was just watching them casually off camera. Because that's the difference, of course. Because people keep asking me, hey, have you seen the latest episode of something? It's like, well, if I haven't reacted to it yet, I haven't seen it, because that's how the content goes these days. Because yeah, on one hand I have, sacrificed the novel experience of the AFMAL videos for the sake of, better reactions. On the other hand, I like doing the reactions, so that it works for me to some degree, don't you see? Yippee. So yeah, I mean, clearly as well, the raw responses occasionally end up, surprising both myself and others. I mean, Aiden was shocked that I said that the series well, or at least the season dropped the ball in this latest episode. And I think to a certain degree, I still stand by that. Maybe not as much as I led on in the actual video, but yeah, once you take into account the domino effect of that idea, or what it may have been, I don't know if it was a reference to that. I'm not sure how much of a Dragon Ball fan Aphmau is. I know that I've made mentions a few times of things that have appeared in Dragon Ball particularly that also appear in Aphmau's content or from other people, but then again, Dragon Ball, is so influential that even through just, being influenced by something that was influenced by it, that's already a distinct possibility. This is where the sidewalk ends. Just fantastic. Why did I just say sidewalk? Use the American word. The pavement ends. Yeah. Shows that I hang out around a lot of Americans. Yeah. And it is true that at some point I was expecting that to happen, because, like I said in the episode, the pattern with a lot of Aphmau seasons is that the beginning and the end are incredibly strong, and then the middle portion is where things start to trail off, depending on the length of the season, around episode 6 or so. We're on episode 4 now, so I mean, we're expecting the season to be shorter anyway, so that's also possible. But with occasional episodes where, there's clearly like a fantastic idea that, really, sweeps the writing room. And we figured out that's partly because of the way that Aphmau wrote the series back in the day. At least, I'm not sure if that's still the case now. Maybe there was a little bit more forward planning, considering that this one, is not as reliant on the algorithm of the main channel to sustain her, which was the issue back in the day. So I'm not sure if that's something that she's deviated from, or if that's still the case. I don't quite know. But yeah, that was the issue back in the day, that, because a lot of stuff was written on the fly, there were some episode concepts that weren't as elaborate or thought out. And then I guess the beginning and the end were probably the strong points, which is also how I write a lot of things. I have I have a beginning and an end in mind, and I work out the middle and the journey as I am proceeding, because I know what direction I want to take the story in, so it's much easier to guide it to that point. And that's the case for books, series, you name it. So yeah, not songs though. Those are mostly chorus first, and then work out how I think it's going to tie into that, because that's where the big convergence is. Different strokes, different folks, different mediums for different levels of tedium. I don't know. I don't have a rhyme for that. So yeah. So like I said, I get it, and I get where it comes from, but it is definitely something that, a repeated pattern that kept emerging, with a few exceptions. Like obviously Emerald Secret, that had 5 strong episodes right at the end, and 11, I think, not as strong ones. That were the vast portion. Although, ironic enough, episode 6 was the one that also infuriated me the most. That seems to be a cursed number when it comes to Aphmau, now that I think about it. But yeah, now that I think about it, I thought about that years ago. Why am I passing off as a new thought? I shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, so I suppose that's what's been on my mind in terms of in terms of what happened yesterday. It's not really something I can properly elaborate on But as far as the nature of parodies in the gacha community goes, the bit that I was intending to tackle, that I can still discuss, because even though we didn't get to the end of the next Wiz Gaming episode, and we won't be doing so until Friday because we've got 2 Butter Bunch streams coming up, if all goes according to plan. You know, because we didn't get to the end of that one, but we did get the original. I can at least talk about the Alpha Sisters again, because I think last time I talked about the nature of parodies in gacha, or like how they're executed. I hadn't seen the short yet that made me discuss, you know, Tales of Censored featuring Trash Cat, which is not the title of the series on YouTube, it's the title on the thumbnails, and that's the one that I'll be using for obvious reasons if you know the show. But yeah, that's obviously meant to be it's their parody of Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. And at the time when I saw the first episode, it seemed like it was, you know, they keep branding everything they do as satire. I saw it more as a spoof than a satire, because it wasn't really saying much about the series. It was just more, you know, flying in the face of it and doing exaggerated caricatures instead of what was actually there. Or at least that's what I thought. Apparently it was intended to be a satire and a bit of a commentary on the show. It just failed miserably at it. If you don't know, there's a video that, as a short, that the Alpha Sisters published about, I think it might have, no, it wasn't a couple weeks ago, that was the actual episode, some time ago. That was, I say, yeah, maybe it was out by that point. That was called Alpha Sisters Don't Teach You Anything, Show This Video to Your Parents to Prove Them Wrong. And that was an example of a few things that they had talked about, you know, like, for example, you know, the concept of Spanglish and the existence of Gibraltar, for example, but yeah, when I talked about that on live chat, a lot of people actually asked me what Gibraltar was. So I guess I guess they succeeded on that account. And then of course they failed at you know, the part that was concerning Tales of Censored featuring Trash Cat, because apparently it was meant to show that the original Ladybug series was you know, is awful and deserved to be cancelled, even though they having gone back to the video, they did make some mentions of a couple of moments, or like exaggerate a couple of moments, and actually try to, you know, do the thing of like, well, this doesn't make sense, which, you know, is a staple of satire to a certain degree, but it wasn't the majority. The one example that springs to mind is the moment when they're parodying, because it's meant to be their version of the Origins episode, basically. So there's a part in the Origins episode where we don't actually see you know, our main antagonist Hawkmoth yet, but we see him in shadows, and he just says, "Nuru, dark wings rise," and that's it. You see Nuru for a split second, then he transforms, and that's all. But actually, I think, oh, actually no, not quite. There's like a little bit of a conversation before that, but not much. Whereas in the parody version, they actually have Nuru say like, what are you doing? You know, you have to, if you ask for a wish, you're going to have to like sacrifice somebody else. And you know, it says, you know, I don't care. You know, my own mother could die for all I care, or something like that. You know, trying to be very exaggerate. And to be fair, in season 5, he basically says the exact same thing. You know, he says, you know, he doesn't care which person gets sacrificed, only he and his family count. So they weren't off base with that. I think they were trying to, you know, offer it a case of like, oh wow, you know, look how like morally bankrupt this character is, which, I mean, yes, he is the villain, That is the point. And the show itself did that. So like so as far as the first episode goes, you know, it's a little bit more of an insight. But again, that was based on knowing what his wish was going to be. We didn't know that at the time. It just seemed like he was trying to take over the world at that stage. But they tried in that moment. But then of course, you know, they completely alter the main character while trying to keep all of the same story beats. I mean, the bit about like everyone being hard of hearing with Hawkmoth and Flockmoth and such, you know, I get that. Not necessarily the names they gave to Ladybug and Cat Noir. I'm not sure how you managed to mess that one up, but maybe Alia is actually just partially deaf in this universe. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. But what was I going to say? But yeah, most of that was just a case of, you know, it kind of seemed like almost like a, you know, a what if the show was this bad, not, oh, the show is this bad. So that's why it didn't work for me in that sense. And episode 2 is very similar, you know, like the humor is even better actually, because I must say, you know, despite the intention, the parody is still funny. The problem is that now that I know the motivation behind it, it kind of like sullied the whole experience, because they're doing something, they're essentially doing what, like, you know, abridged anime creators like to do. The only problem is that the way they're doing it basically means they're the way they're doing it, but the abridged anime creators most of the time, you know, that actually, you know, have a sense of enjoyment of the source material. They can lovingly mock it without taking things, you know, without like sacrificing the spirit of what they liked in the first place. And that goes back all the way to Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, which, you know, is the most blatant in terms of its commentary about the series and about, you know, the 4Kids censorship and all of that stuff. But still manages to you know, keep something that's entertaining within what you know, those parameters are set up. SAO Abridged is a better example, because I guess that also had a recent you know, release, you know, this week, I think. And in terms of SAO Abridged, yeah, again, this one particularly, I feel like the comedy was very on point. But it was once again a not quite final, but presented as final confrontation between the main character Kirito and the antagonist for that particular arc, Suga / Oberon. And yes, that is the part that they are at in the series. So, you know, part of it is, you know, oh sorry, I'm just trying to avoid a bunch of wasps. It's like Ryan George said, you know, well, I say there was a technically he's written to September, it's today's October, but still, you know, stay clear of wasps around this time. They're exceptionally aggravated because they're hungry, which I can relate to. Let's go this way. So yeah, we've so yeah, in that one particularly, like the last part that you know, Kirito's properly enraged at, aside from everything that was done to his wife, which, you know, obviously the real source of rage, but for him particularly, the fact that like, you know, Suga even put a door to access you know, the administrator room, because he thought, oh, how else will I get in, compared to just, you know, putting everything on a private server and logging in himself, you know, implying that, you know, the main antagonist has no idea about computers, and by extension the show, which presented this as completely a normal thing to do, that the show creator also has no idea about how computers work, which is a frequent, commentary about, like the gaming industry and like all of that stuff that Reki Kawahara, the creator of Sword Art Online, seems mostly unfamiliar with. So all of that, and they still kept it as, the epic battle. They've set up Sugo and basically, his vanity and and definite stupidity. Like it actually tracks how they put that together compared to what they did with Kayaba the previous season, which was essentially he was sleep deprived because none of that made sense originally, and the idea that he didn't even remember his lines, that his motivation, that was something that was so offensive to the entire fan base they had to properly spoof it that way. Like there's definitely a way to do that kind of thing. You can tell that the creators still like love the source material, and that's the point really. Like if you're going to make fun of something, I mean, there's obviously got to understand what people don't like about something, but also what people do like. Like I said in the video, there's a reason that show that's Miraculous in the first place is so beloved by so many, because there are a lot of things that it does right on top of the things that it does wrong. It's that if someone can't see the good in that show, then so be it. They're not alone. The Alpha Sisters are far from the first people to, say the show is awful, and they will certainly not be the last. But yeah, if they're going to try to parody something, and they want to present it as satire, then they need to get their message straight, or at least if their message is straight, they need to figure out how best to convey it. And that's not something that they've done up until this point. So I guess that's really it in terms of the next talk about parodies, and I guess we'll continue that theme potentially next week after I've gone through the next Wiz Gaming installment, because you can see there that Wiz Gaming is someone who like deliberately seemed to have no respect for the source material, and yet this time I'm gonna have to think, because the episode that is being parodied is one that I really did not enjoy. So I'm gonna have to think about like the reverse of that situation of what stuff did it do right that Wiz Gaming might have missed out on, or didn't miss out on. Maybe it was all a misguided attempt to actually present his affection for the series. Unlike the Alpha Sisters, he's not made his motivations clear at any point. It seemed to be just a case of trying to have a good time and possibly overuse a lot of memes that dated the video significantly. But I guess we'll deal with that on Friday. Tomorrow we've got another one shot from one of our featuring one of our silliest characters. Fred the Cat Girl is returning, so look forward to that. I suppose I have no idea what else is actually going to happen in that one, so I guess we'll see from there. So please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. Oh, and on Thursday, by the way, we're going to review the next bit of the Code Lyoko thing, hopefully, if Ghosty's available and Aiden is also. We'll see. I'll talk about that, because if he's not available Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe should have reconsidered that. I don't know. But for now, please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. And subscribe if you've done so already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.